Hey, what's going on, guys? Happy Motivational Monday. Today I have Daniel Kwak back in the house. I just wanted to bring him in to talk to you guys today about real estate and coaching, having a coach for real estate. All right, guys, so today we're going to talk about why it's important to have a coach. Why should you go out of your way to reach out to someone who's professional in the industry that you're looking to either get into or learn more about? So Daniel's here to talk to us a little bit about why you should have a coach in real estate investing particularly.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to be here.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what can you tell our audience a little bit about if I'm kind of struggling looking for a coach? I want to get into getting passive income. I saw that real estate's kind of like that way that everyone's kind of going towards. What is your thought process on when you're looking for a coach to get into the real estate arena?
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously a lot of individuals are in the real estate investing space. And just with anything, I always tell people you need a coach. Like, I don't care if you are super good and super talented at self-learning. I'm a self-taught individual. I taught myself how to play instruments and a lot of different things. But at the end of the day, I would not be where I'm at right now if I did not have a coach. Matter of fact, I have multiple coaches throughout the way that has helped me tremendously to get to where I am. So absolutely important, absolutely key. And I always tell people, listen, you're going to either pay for education out there or with a coach. And the price of admission for a coach, 100% of the time, much smaller and much more affordable than having to go out there and learn it yourself.
All right, you don't want to learn the hard way. We're trying to cut corners, but in a good way. So you're cutting corners and having experience from someone who's a professional, who's already done it, or learned the better way to do it, right?
Yeah.
So when you're looking for a professional and people come to you, what are some common questions they ask you about real estate investing?
Yeah, so, for me as a real estate coach, one of the common questions I get is usually three things. It's number one, how do I start? And everybody's journey is so different. I think the reason why people ask, how do I start or how did you get started is because they want some type of formula or equation for them to get started so they don't, they can succeed and not fail. And it's kind of how a lot of times people don't want to fail because they don't want to look good, right? They want to look good or be right. They have the spirit, right? And a lot of times it comes from insecurities and whatnot. So for me, as a real estate coach, is not only to give you the ammo and not only to give you the knowledge, but also to unlock and unleash the person within you. And I always tell people all the time, is listen, my goal as a real estate investing coach is not to teach you real estate, right? That's part of it. That's part of the curriculum. But my goal is to create a real estate investor to the point where you don't need me anymore and you're self-sustaining. And a lot of times when people go after a particular formula and they ask, Daniel, how did you get started? They're completely neglecting and omitting the whole aspect of being self-sustainable and being your own real estate investor and having that ability and the mindset to be able to not need anyone necessarily, but to have your own journey and start it as your own.
So when they're getting started in that journey, obviously they need that motivation to keep pushing through. And is a coach someone that's going to keep them accountable, or is it more so for information?
Yeah, so for me, I always tell my clients, and I always tell people in general, especially the guys our age who are very young, if you need to be motivated, you shouldn't be doing it. For me as a real estate coach, I should never need to motivate you. Kind of like how if you're a basketball coach, you should never need to motivate your players because your players should love the game enough to the point where they want to get out there and play, But as a coach, as a basketball coach, if we're following this example, what does he do? He watches film and says, hey, this is what you got to change. Here's your shot. You have to alter your shot. This is how you're going to increase your percentage by 10%. And it's the same thing. In real estate, I see a lot of people analyze deals, and analyzing deals a lot of times is like shooting a basketball. Some people have a weird shot, but it goes in. You know what I mean? For a lot of people, they have a weird way, an unorthodox way of analyzing deals, but it works. And there's something that we could learn from everybody. So, just like how a shooting coach in the NBA is going to tell a player, hey, you gotta move your left hand a little bit this way, and you do that. See, when you make that change, your free throw percentage went up 10%. So kind of like for me as a real estate coach, I can tell someone, hey, you got to change the way you analyze that deal, change the way you negotiate that deal with that seller, and guess what happens? That conversion of them doing deals increases by 5-10%. 5-10%, if you're an active real estate investor, could be the difference between $10 million and $15 million. Because it really, at the end of the day, is a ripple effect, right? The more capital you have, the more capital you have, which means the more capital you have, the more capital you have, you know? So it really, every little thing matters, and you can't find that in YouTube. You can't find that on books. You can't find that. Just the little things that make the difference between, you know, a B player and an A+ player, that's huge. That's what a coach is for.
So you have to want it. You're not creating fuel for the person. They have to come to you knowing that they want to get into this as part of their journey.
Yeah, my job is to go from want to be for them.
Got it. So number one would be, why should they get into real estate? What's number two?
Yeah, so number two, you know, in terms of what I try and do with my clients and individuals, and it ultimately points to why you need a coach. You know, number one, we talked about the self-sustainability, right? So not needing to be motivated, but having the knowledge, creating the system where it's not motivation anymore, it's just clockwork, you know? Number two is scalability. A lot of people don't know how to scale their own real estate business because it's uncharted territory. You know, like just like how if you were to climb Mount Everest and you did no research on Mount Everest, and you know, that'd be foolish. Because you know, if you're a mountain climber, you know, like at one point you got to start breaking out the oxygen tanks. You got to start rationing your food. You got to start, you know, there's a lot of things that you got to start doing because it's uncharted territory. A coach is going to help you do that. And you know, for especially the real estate investing coach, you know, imagine someone who's carrying infinite oxygen tanks, infinite food, and they're there with you in the journey at all times. So in the first option, sure, you might be able to climb the mountain, but you're going to be 1 out of 10 people that make it up there. Right. The rest of the 9 individuals are going to starve to death. They're going to suffocate themselves to death because they don't have air, or they're going to fall because they don't know the landscape of the mountain. So, you know, having a coach is like somebody who knows the mountain in and out, infinite oxygen and infinite food. I mean, it's just a world of difference.
And when you're looking at these differences, are you looking at your students and choosing which ones that you see can have that success?
Yeah, so, you know, I always tell people all the time, like, listen, I don't believe in talent. I don't believe that at all. I think everybody, especially in the world of business, to where, you know, like in the sport of basketball or any other sport, like your physical attributes do help, right? Like, I mean, if you're like a LeBron James and you're, you know, 6'8", 6'9", 240 pounds, obviously you're going to, you know, you have a better chance of being a better basketball player than somebody like me who's only 5'9", you know? But in real estate and business, you know, it doesn't matter. You know, all you got to do is just be right one time. And it doesn't matter how small. I mean, I always say that business, money, it doesn't care about what your skin color, what your sexual orientation, you know, how tall you are, what country you're from. You know, it really is just the beautiful aspect of competition at its purest form. So, I mean, to even, you know, answer your question, for a lot of coaches, it's really cool to see the progression of individuals, of my students that are Black, that are Asian, all different, and yet they all have the same goal.
Got it. So what would you say is the number 3 question that people ask you when they get into?
Yeah, so, you know, aside from how do you get started, you know, one of the things that people ask me is just kind of specific stuff. So like, you know, how do you raise capital, or how do you know, do owner financing, or how do you do this? And, you know, another thing as to why it's so important to have a coach is a lot of time a coach helps you see the bigger picture. So for me, when somebody asks me like, Daniel, how do I raise capital? I say the fact that you're asking me that question right now not only tells me that you have trouble raising capital, but you have also trouble running your business. Because, well, you know, if you're saying how do I raise capital, you're making it about you, right? If you're asking how do I raise capital, you're making it about you. But if you're actively out there networking and you're identifying problems to solve, you wouldn't have that problem, because you're going to run into people who have the problem of, I have too much capital, I need deals to put it in. So the fact that you asked that question, it means you're putting yourself first. We got to reverse engineer, and we got to start at the source. Why are you asking that question in the first place? Why are you having that problem in the first place? It's because you're not out there networking and solving problems. So that mindset shift, once that happens, you know, people usually just take off.
Got it. So they have to have your own self-drive.
Yeah.
You have to have your own like motivation factors of like helping and solving problems for other people, and you have to be able to find the right mentor for you. Would you say that's pretty on the head?
Yeah, you know, because every mentor has like their different style, and one of the things that you got to be really careful of is having a bad mentor is worse than having no mentor at all. You know, I've had some mentors in my life where their integrity wasn't exactly the best, and they've taught me some things that aligned with their personal agenda. You know, so like mentors who have a personal agenda of you doing this for them, they're gonna preach that all day long, and then 3-4 years later, they're telling you something different, right? Because they're needing something else.
Right.
So I always say, you know, be very picky with who mentors you, and you know, I always say even qualify your mentors. Ask them like, hey, have you ever done a deal where people have lost money? You know, where you've been sued or you've done something, you know, unethical. And there's ways to, you know, and get references. There's ways to find that out, you know. But you know, picking your mentors is huge. It's absolutely huge.
Awesome.
Yeah.
If you guys have any questions for us, leave them in the comment box below. Daniel will put his contact info if you want to check out his real estate programs or if you want to be coached by Daniel himself. Feel free to like and subscribe this video. That helps support us so we can come out with more content for you guys. And thanks for watching.